Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for daily devotions through Redeeming Life Fellowship. I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go. I hope that you can take me seriously still, even though I'm wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt on, which feels really weird because that television show was forbidden as a child, so I feel kind of rebellious now. So, Mom, if you're watching this, I hope you can forgive me. We're going to continue to follow along with the revised school reading plan. If you haven't found that, go ahead, click on the link that's attached to this video and follow along with us. It's a daily reading plan, and today, as we've been working through the Psalms, we find ourselves in Psalms 86 and 87. Psalms 86 and 87. So, if you're watching this, Bryce, Faith, Glenn, Earl, Rob, Gran, I love you guys, and whoever else is watching, go ahead and take a moment, pause, and I want to give you a thought, or a question, rather, when you're reading Psalm 86, and this is the question. Ask yourself, who can I trust with my very life? Have you asked that question before? Have you just pondered, what sort of things am I so certain about that I could bet my very life on? I want you to ruminate over that question as you're reading Psalm 86. So, you can pause the video, read Psalm 86, and we'll get back to it. Ready? Go. So now that we've read Psalm 86, let's reflect a little bit on that question that I prompted to you. Who is it that you can trust with your very life? There are two things I think that you would probably, two criteria that you would want for somebody if you were trusting them with your very life. You would want to know that, one, that they're actually capable of saving your life, rescuing it, preserving it, taking care of it. You'd want to know that they're capable, that they're strong enough, that they're powerful enough to do it. The other criteria is that you'd want to know that they actually care about your life, that your life is worth preserving because they love you, because your life is valuable in their eyes. Now, for me, the clearest and most obvious example in my own life about this would be probably my dad, who, as some of you may know, was a medical practitioner, as a doctor for as long as I can remember. I mean, he went to med school before I was born. I never checked his credentials, but I'm pretty sure they're there. It was a tremendous benefit to having a dad as a doctor, because whenever I was sick or injured, there was never any doubt in my mind that I could go to my dad for help. For one, because I knew that he was a doctor, practicing medicine. He had the white coat and the stethoscope like any doctor would. And that if I was sick or injured, he had the capacity, the strength, the power, the know-how to be able to help me in my time of need. Not only that, I knew because I was his son that my life was valuable in his eyes, and that whatever it is that he could do or wanted to do or desired to do was a reflection of the love that he had for me as his own son. And that's the way in which the psalmist is viewing God and crying out to God in Psalm 86. That he's acknowledging not only is God powerful, but he's also good. Let's look at some of the first few verses. Guard my life, for I am devoted to you. You are my God. Save your servant who trusts in you. Have mercy on me, O Lord, for I call to you all day long. Bring joy to your servant For you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. You are forgiving and good, O Lord, abounding in love to all who call to you. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Listen to my cry for mercy. In the day of my trouble, I will call to you, and you will answer me. So, the grounding for the psalmist's faith in God is rooted in God's goodness and his power. And interestingly, if you look at verses 8 through 10, it is in precisely these two respects that the God who the psalmist serves, Yahweh, the living God, is unlike any other gods of the nations. That in both of those respects, not only that the God that he serves actually does stuff, who actually has the power to save, to redeem, to preserve, but that the God who he serves and who he seeks and who he fears is a God of love, who actually cares about the well-being of his servants, who he desires to make his own sons. I think this is what helps us get to the crux of the matter in verses 11 through 13. Once it's established that the psalmist can trust God with his very life, listen to what it is that he asks. Teach me your way, O Lord, and I will walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart, that I may fear your name. I will praise you, O Lord my God, with all my heart. I will glorify your name forever, for great is your love toward me. You have delivered me from the depths of the grave. It's remarkable to me that of all the sort of things that the psalmist could ask for, because God is a God of love and he is a powerful God, what he asks is that the Lord would teach him his way. The psalmist, from where he stands, recognizes that his life, his decisions, his values are all disordered, and that he needs God to teach him the way in which that he's supposed to walk, the way that he's supposed to conduct his life, what it is that's supposed to be the object of his highest affections, which what he desires, if he's going to walk in truth, is that he has an undivided heart. What I find certainly interesting is that the biblical texts, when it's talking about David elsewhere, refer to him as a man after God's own heart. The picture that's described about him is a man who is certainly flawed, but loves God wholeheartedly. If we can take the superscription of Psalm 86 seriously, which I don't see any reason why we can't, David, by his own confession, finds it difficult to love God wholeheartedly. That in the transparency of his heart, he knows that it's divided, and that when it comes to the question where it is that he can place his trust of his very life, there are multiple things that are clamoring for his attention, that are tugging at his heart in all directions, saying, your love needs to go here, your love needs to go here, your love needs to go here, your love needs to go here. And that this has left him in a mess, because none of the things that are clamoring for his affections are capable of preserving his very life. And so it's like there's this moment of realization. He's waking up and saying, why is it that I can't love the God who is powerful enough to preserve my life and who actually loves me, that I can't give my whole heart to him? And so he's asking God to accomplish in his heart the sort of thing that he knows that he can't do, but the thing that is that he ought to do if he's going to walk in truth. So I want my prayer and your prayer to be the same as David's, that we can learn, that we can allow God the space and the opportunity and the time and the freedom today to say, God, teach me your ways, and I will walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart, that I may fear your name. So that in the end, we will praise the Lord wholeheartedly. And that our lives will actually be whole and will be fruitful because they're not torn apart by disordered loves. So it's my encouragement to you. Let God, the living God, the God who is powerful and the God who loves you, be the recipient and the object of your highest affection. To say, God, I want to love you wholeheartedly, and that when I love you wholeheartedly, I will learn to rightly love everything else. That I can love my spouse and my children and my coworkers and the world that you've made rightly. I can reflect your love towards all of them because I've learned to love you wholeheartedly. So that's view of Psalm 86. Let's jump to a shorter one, which I think, well, here, pause. Let's read Psalm 87 together, and then we're going to tease out some details verse by verse. So go ahead and read it, and we'll walk through it. So interesting psalm, isn't it? But what I do realize in a psalm like Psalm 87, even though it's quite short, it actually follows a progression, so that you want to pay attention to the small details, the breadcrumbs that the psalmist is leaving behind, to be able to get an idea for what's happening. So let's just read it together. He, that is God, has set his foundation on his holy mountain. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. So what it is that he's saying there, that the dwellings of Jacob, that's another way of saying about the land of Israel, where God's chosen people dwell. And that of all of these things, there's a central location, that the gates of Zion, that is the mountain place where God is dwelling among his people, more than all the dwellings of Jacob. So the focus is very centralized, very small. And then he goes on, glorious things are said of you, O city of God. So the emphasis that's going on right here is not just simply the land of God's chosen people, but a particular place where God has met with his people and dwells among his people. Within this place, that all of the people are coming to Zion because that's the place where they find shelter and protection and walk in abiding fellowship with the living God. So that's what's happening. Now, here comes the astounding part. I will record Rahab and Babylon among those who acknowledge me. Rahab, as you may not know, is like a poetic name that could be applied, or that is applied, to the nation of Egypt. That's south of Israel. And Babylon, this monstrous empire to the east of Israel. I will record Egypt and Babylon among those who acknowledge me. Philistia, Philistia's to the south, and Tyre, that's to the north, along with Cush, that's the southernmost regions of Egypt, and will say, this one was born in Zion. Now let's just pause for a second there. It's not a secret to anybody that in the literal sense that any of these nations, be it Babylon, Egypt, Tyre, Philistia, that their nation's history is chronologically traced back to what's happened in Zion, because these empires, in some cases, even with Egypt, are chronologically much older than the nation of Israel. What is it that's actually being said here? What is this scandalous idea that nations who already exist could be said of them that they're recorded within the registries of a city in Zion? So it's like the author is using this poetic language to be able to actually stretch our thinking, to get us thinking about something and applying certain things that we wouldn't necessarily think about. And let's go on a little further. Indeed, of Zion it will be said, this one and that one were born in her, and the Most High, that's the Lord, himself will establish her. The Lord will write in the register of the peoples, this one was born in Zion. As they make music and sing, all my fountains are in you. Isn't it fascinating, first of all, that within this psalm, you're catching some hints or some allusions that anticipate a new birth, not in an explicit sense, but writing about it in such a way that anticipates the language of a new birth, which Jesus speaks about in John chapter 3. What's happening, it seems, is that God is taking peoples who are on the outside, people who have no record, no belonging, no identity in or among the people of God, and saying, I'm going to take you and I'm going to transplant you into the place, into the registry, into the family, into the living, breathing culture of the people of God who walk in abiding fellowship with him in Zion. And the marvelous image about this sort of thing is that these are outsiders who are brought in, people who are estranged from God, even enemies of God, who are brought in to the dwellings of Zion and saying, even though you were far away, I'm going to bring you in, and that your history, your story, your identity is going to begin anew by walking in abiding fellowship with the living God. And that though you were no longer, at one time you were not my people, I'm going to bring you in and make you a part of these people. And that's an encouraging thought to me, certainly, not only in the times when I reflect on my own life, in the times when I was estranged from God and I was a foreigner. Heck, I'm not a Babylonian, but I am, as the Bible describes, a Gentile, not an Israelite, someone who, based upon my genetic makeup and history and genealogy, I don't have any place among the people of God. But because of what God has done through Jesus Christ, he's brought me in. And that is all the reason to give thanks to God for what he's done. But also to think, as you're reading this, who is it that you've recognized who's on the outside, who God desires to bring in? People who, based upon their history, their identity, their culture, by pretty much every measurable aspect, don't really have a place to belong among the people of God. Those are the people that God desires to bring in and make his own and accomplish in them a rebirth, to say, yes, you belong among the people of God because I've brought you in and made you a part of this. That challenges my thinking when I've prematurely judged many people and saying, oh gosh, I don't know how God could ever save that person. To read something like this and realizing that God is indeed a God who desires to draw people who are from the outside into abiding fellowship with him. And I want to take that seriously and allow my heart to be soft and tender enough to allow God to accomplish his purposes in and through me, that he's made clear through Psalm 87. Let that be our prayer, that we become the sort of people who are bringing outsiders in, bring them into connection with the living God, the life-transforming power of the grace and the mercy and the compassion and the love of God, so that all of us can be among the ones who could say that the Most High himself will establish, who will write in the registers of the people that this one was born in Zion. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope soon for the opportunity that you'll be able to come and meet with us on Sundays and Wednesdays, that we can unpack these sort of things together. Love you all very much, and can't wait to see you next time. So have a great day.